Alright guys, Billum here back with more Yakuza Like a Dragon. We are continuing on, should I just do auto recovery? Probably, right? Okay, good, because now that we have Namba back, it takes less P. Takes less SP. I love how I just let her. Where are we going? Oh, we're going all the way over there. Yeah, I'm currently listening to the recap from BB Can. We're probably going to fast travel. Yeah, I think we're going to fast travel. So, yeah.
If the veto is won and used, what's going to happen? We see that Rohan is going to talk with Tara a little bit. There's going to be some campaigning with Austin.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just waiting for this game to end.
Talk with Kiefer about how
I really just want to finish this game.
I put him on the block and I hate him because of the whole thing with the HOH competition. But I've got to manage my relationships, and so I'm going to talk with Kiefer. This was actually prompted by Latoya. After Austin.
Fuck, did not mean to do that. Accidentally closed the thing. There we go. Alright,
Target Kiefer. She was like, you should talk to Kiefer and tell him that he's not actually the target. And so they have a conversation where Kiefer explains that the only reason
wait, is this not where I thought it was?
About the HOH competition rooting against you, just
Oh, I thought we were going here. Okay. We're lower on the map than I thought.
and not beautiful. And I don't know exactly what his point was with that. Like,
Well, I mean, we just saved last episode, so it's like we can just reload the save if things go wrong, right? Cool, got an ad.
It seemed to go okay.
Yeah, he was kind of like bigging her up, and he was just like talking about like, oh, I was insecure, you're so pretty, that's why I didn't want to talk to you. I think it's a pretty good strategy for somebody who hates Austin's guts. I feel like he played that off pretty well. Like, it's not that I didn't talk game to you because I didn't like you, it's just I was so scared and intimidated. It's a way to stroke her ego while also trying to give yourself an excuse for not like talking gameplay with her. So I like that from Kiefer's point of view, because I don't think she knows how much he doesn't like her.
Is that the end of the chapter? No, I got him. Wait, didn't you call us here?
On their way. We also hear from Beth and Ty. They're gonna be chatting out in the morning by the hot tub. And she lets him know, like, hey, do you know why I put my hand over your mouth last night? And I'm like, hopefully you weren't trying to kill him, I think? How do you just do that with no explanation until the morning?
It really sucks too that I've been I'll be honest, I've been struggling to follow the live feeds for BB Can to the point where I've kind of just given up. I'm pretty much just relying on the live feed updates at this point.
Yeah, and Beth said to Ty he was ready to rumble. I was like, oh, a wrestling reference. Did somebody summon Yes, were you ready to rumble, Ty? This was an interesting segment. They're getting the showman segment tomorrow's gonna be interesting. I want to see that because well, no, Beth is the star of the show, Karen. You don't realize that? Like, she's clearly the star of the show. She's clearly the mastermind. That's what BB Canada 9 is telling me.
Yeah, she's my superstar. Look,
Yakuza みたいに暴力で支配するわけじゃない。法律に準じて人々の暮らしを良くする。おかげで多くの人間から感謝される。小笠原を殺しました。ああ、リスクマネージャー。だってあいつはお前に拉致られてブリーチジャパンや俺の内情をベラベラとしゃべったんだ。あいつはそういうやつは一言も喋ってませんなんて。
If you want to hear more of Chappelle's thoughts on Beth, you are going to have to wait for the spoiler section tonight, because we just
そんなに簡単に殺せるんですか。じゃあ聞くが。
not get all of what Chappelle wanted to get out of this episode. But she says, the reason I put my hand over your mouth is because I didn't want us to kiss. And so I'm again a little bit confused. Like, were they about to kiss and then she did like a block move? If so, fairly obvious what she was doing, right? Doesn't require an explanation. If not, then this was a preemptive strike of like, I can feel the kiss coming, and I'm gonna go, no.
And the clip had like no like verification about
Yeah,
it.
the clip was like, what? I didn't hear any lip smacking. I didn't hear any hand smacking. So, yeah.
I feel like the queen, Beth, she was putting her hand over his mouth because, you know, it's like out of sight, out of mind. You cover it up so that you don't even think about it. So now, tonight, we're good. We're good. We're safe. We don't have to worry about this. I have my hand over your mouth. I'm not going to try anything. You were ready to rumble. You won't try anything. Her mind, so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful.
It's like when Josh wants cookies, he just has to pretend there's no cookies.
Hide the cookies.
Yeah.
Put his hand close
Over the cookies. Yeah, just put your hand right on top of the cookies. You won't be able to eat them. It makes sense.
All right, so we'll see where this whole showman's thing goes as we move along here. We pick players for the veto. The HOH will not be playing in the veto this season, which is the same as last season and the season before that. This started in Big Brother Canada 7. They are going to continue with it. I don't know what it is about it that they've been impressed by so far, but maybe they just have faith in it. I don't know. But Austin will not be competing. They will be choosing players, 5 players for the veto. And something that people in my chat noticed when we were watching was that the names on the chat are not centered. They're like written in the
They're at the bottom, right?
yeah, in like a weird off-center spot. And I was just like, okay.
I thought this was like Canadian. Like, you know, like that's like how you write Canadian.
What do they say?
In the bottom corner.
In the bottom corner.
When speaking Canadian, you
Speak in the bottom corner.
never center it. It's always bottom corner.
Did y'all not learn that in Canadian studies class? I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Now, is this the portion where the Canadians do the earmuffs while we
We are just up. We understand Canadian culture and we are speaking their language.
Yes,
Off center.
Off center.
Ted, I feel like we would not be remiss to have such this wonderful panel if we don't go back for a second.
Mari.
You know,
That's another thing I didn't talk about. I didn't talk
you know what
about
I'm talking about?
stock watch. I did end up going all in on Tina.
With me and Mari on here, guess what?
It's not gonna happen.
Thought about going Latoya,
How
but
many times are my guests gonna bring up the
I feel like Tina is the more reliable pick.
It was strategic. We gotta talk about it.
And honestly, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. At first I was like, what is this? But as they started going, I was like, okay, all right. They've been practicing. I liked it.
Yeah, they have been practicing. And they've been singing it afterward as well.
Are you tired of the rap? Is that what you're trying to tell tell us.
You little annoyed. A little annoyed.
You're a little sick of it.
I'm a little sick and tired of being sick and tired of rabbits.
Actually, this is kind of funny though. That Jeff and Jordan just got announced that they're having a real estate show. Which again, who the fuck wants? But someone posted the real estate show we wanted, showing Janelle, and the real estate show we got, showing Jeff. It's like, you realize Janelle is also a Republican, also a Trump supporter, and all this stuff too, right? It's like, it's kind of funny how like people like kind of seem to forget that when it comes to Janelle.
Lingering in front of Ty. And he's lingering in front of someone else. And you start putting the pieces together like, wait, hold on.
I didn't take it this far. I didn't take it this far.
You can't recognize her mind. So powerful.
I'm surprised so many people are so, gung ho to get in on the bad breath.
It must not be that bad because it seems to be attracting people left and right.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. I just feel like it might give away, this secret alliance if everybody's walking around smelling like onion rings and only Beth has had onion rings.
Oh my gosh.
Just saying.
So why are we seeing this?
I also was referring to after the rap erasure. I do want to give a nod to this segment when all of the Black House guests were talking about their hair.
Yes.
Oh, is this the? Oh, okay, so this is the guy that got murdered, the one that he got blamed for.
Humorous. I thought it was hilarious. I thought that it brought to light an issue in a way that's how we would talk about it. Not everything has to be serious. You know what I'm saying? We really can worry about how we gonna take care of our hair while making jokes about who's gonna line me up. Chappelle, what did you think about that segment?
Mari, you know I felt this.
Why 2001?
I'm wearing a hat today.
Why don't you just make it
Y'all
2000?
see my hair. And one thing that I have to always think about when watching Big Brother, but especially Survivor, is what the heck would I do with my hair? Like, do I have to beg production for a do-rag? Because there is no way I would let people see me in my natural habitat without a fresh lineup. It felt good to see this representation, because this is what we talk about. I've always wondered, Howard, what are you going to do this whole time? And then he sees Candace, okay, well, give Candace the clippers, and she's going to have to figure it out.
Exactly.
I felt like them, they looking around the room, hey, Mari, can you line me up?
Yes.
Hit the freestyle braids, I got you,
I've had to get the spots that my husband has missed a couple times during the pandemic. I'm surprised none of them learned that skill during the lockdown, like most people have. Yeah, you too. You're slipping too.
I don't trust myself with my hair. It's a very delicate situation. Mari, you know this.
And just one last shout out to Victoria talking about how tight she had to put her weave in. I was like, yes, thank you. The struggle is real, and I'm happy for that whole conversation. It was just so fun to watch and talk about. So I'm sorry, you can finish. I interrupt.
That actually was. I really liked that segment. And it's another one of these things where these are the kinds of character moments and segments that we get when we have a diverse cast. And something else that I thought was interesting about that scene was that it felt like to me like it was earlier in that felt to me like a day 1 or 2 conversation. And
I believe it was. That's number 1 on my list to do. Okay, which one of y'all gonna get my edge up? Which one?
And I thought it was interesting too because Ty seemed so much more animated in that conversation than I normally see him. And I don't know if that was just because it was a topic and he felt comfortable, or if it was he has kind of talked about how bored he is in the house and how hard it is to be there sometimes. I don't know if he's lost a little bit of enthusiasm as time has gone on, but it was definitely very interesting to see. So yeah, definitely worth talking about here.
Mari, Martin, did you think that Ty's enthusiasm was just because he was surrounded by people, like-minded people in that moment?
I think so. Comfortability is number one. It's just, it's the Negro in their natural habitat. Once they're amongst themselves, it's just when you're in a room and you can talk about stuff that other people understand, no matter what it is, and it just puts you at ease. And I agree. I think that was definitely something that was from the first few days, just like bonding, just straight up just bonding and getting to know people. I'm really glad they included it.
It's kind of like, Taryn, if I walk in the house and I say this to somebody else who looks like me and they don't understand where I'm coming from, I almost know in that moment that I can't, all right, let me take my stuff elsewhere. Like, I'm trying to connect with you on the most basic of levels here, and you can't meet me halfway. Yeah, you giving me nothing. So yeah, and I want to say it was AJ after the Monday episode said that in Big Brother US, when you have Davon and Kaser, like every time they show character moments for them, they're talking about their struggle with representation. And this was so different. You still get to talk about representation, but it's in a fun, light way because you have multiple people in a house that have the same worldview, and so it gives you kind of like this is how US is doing it, and this is how Canada is kind of one up in US in the casting department for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing we saw when the feeds came on was Jed, touching up Ty's hair in prep for the eviction.
That was the feed leak. So I thought that was really funny when it kind of felt full circle.
Yeah. All right, so off-center words.
I did not know this. I don't know what I was looking at.
Canadian. That leads us to the Upset the Apple Cart. Was that the name of the veto competition, Taryn?
Something like that. That's honestly, I wasn't paying attention, but I will know the name of it by the end of the season because people will be studying it forever. Yes, we have what was it? Tina is chosen by Josh, and he says that the reason that he chose Tina is I think I can beat her. So, it's Tina. It was Victoria, and was it Tara?
Tara,
yeah, Tara, of course. Because Rohan chose Tara.
You will remember Tara at some point.
Tehran.
Taryn stays for getting Tara.
So they're competing in this competition. So I've seen actually a lot of confusion about the competition. I was actually a little bit confused when I was watching it because, for as much as they they repeat the rules for the competition always, you sort of understand why when they don't. Because I was like, wait a minute, what are they doing? Because I thought I knew what this was, right? I thought that it was typically how you do this competition is that you go over, you grab things, you come back over, you stack over here, and then you go back over. But this was like a wheelbarrow. I was like, okay, so they're trying to stack it on the wheelbarrow, I guess, and then they're trying to bring it over. So I believe how this worked is that you ran the wheelbarrow.
Interesting. Michael B. Jordan is directing Creed 3.
Every time you got to the apple,
That'll be interesting.
apples were, you could take 5 apples, put it on the wheelbarrow.
Okay, did I like Creed 2? I did, right?
Or take another trip.
I generally don't even remember anymore. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm not like it was the greatest movie or anything, but...
I think it's just get as many as you can, and then you have the ability to lock it. So that's what the competition was. We hear from Victoria pretty early that she had no interest in winning this competition. Mari, what are your thoughts on that?
Victoria is hilarious. I love Victoria. I would never want to live with Victoria, but I will definitely sit here and watch her play.
Victoria annoys the shit out of me, by the way.
She is just so funny. She's a burst of energy. She was very smart with that because, yes, she won that first first team challenge. So to win a POV when it does not benefit her this week, it does not benefit her. I thought was very, very good gameplay, and she is hilarious. Again,
Yeah. My initial thought was, this is great. I mean, I love that she's thinking in this way, right? She knows that she came out strong in that first HOH, so she wants to see if she can sort of like, be like, oh, maybe I'm not that good at competitions. On the other hand, though, I actually could see a situation where winning this could be of value to her, considering her position in the game where she doesn't really have any allies, and she's trying to get allies to approach people and talk to people, but she's just getting shut down. And I think that if she then she's kind of proving to the house that, like, hey, I've got some value. Like, I can win these.
Yeah, I love how we're 20 minutes in and all it's been cutscenes.
Yes, but the flip side of that is that she's also less valuable to be pulled in as an ally. So I do think that there is another side of that coin that you have to sort of consider when you make that kind of call.
Yeah, I was thinking that along those lines as well, right? Because Victoria's on her team has been immune, right? And if you prove that you're good at competition, when you're not immune, you're probably less likely to get voted out. It's this team thing lasts longer. You know, like if we think I still have to keep the tribe strong, quote unquote, then you know, like you don't want to get rid of your good, physical players. And if you prove that you're that person, then that maybe people will look at you in the same light that they look at like a Jid or a Tyshawn,
ridiculously leveled.
Latoya, where these people look physical. So now, I can count on them in competition if necessary.
It's still really annoying
also,
that.
I think if she was more aware of her position in the house, using the veto wouldn't be a horrible idea if she knew what to do with the information she could get from it, right? So if she takes off Josh, who is the obvious pariah of the house right now, and then they have to replace him, then that'll make them choose a side, or almost it'll kind of make people kind of rally behind the person they want, and maybe the people on the outside will see that they're on the outside. But she first has to know that she's on the outside, and I'm not quite sure she's aware of the structure of the house to pull something like that off. So I like Victoria. I like Mari. Probably don't know how long I would be okay with living with her, but I think she's not completely clueless. She just seems like she's having a good time, and I can appreciate that. I do have a question about the competition, though.
Yes.
Could you not turn the wheelbarrow around?
I think you
probably
could.
Yeah, was this in the rules?
I would guess, like, if I was playing in that competition, I don't think that I would turn it around. I think that I would just back and forth it. Because, like, turning it around just seems like an unnecessary risk. Where, like, you have to sort of, like, keep the whole thing steady while you're turning it. And then also, I do feel like moving it backwards is probably, if anything, I'd want to turn it around to move it backwards again. Because moving it forward seemed like a much trickier way of going about it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, on the way back, why not just go backwards? But, at that point, I guess you could have dropped some. I don't know. But first of all, completely confused. I started watching TikTok videos, not Big Brother TikTok, but just TikTok. We're in a challenge. And so I was happy when it was over, and I was happy with the result.
But you didn't see Josh become one with the apples.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about this editing? So, of course, people were, they were like, oh, they're cheering, they're clearly cheering for Josh to lose, whatever. Is it just me, or I really felt like this is clearly put on. Like, yeah, they were probably cheering, but I don't think he would have been able to hear it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they turned up the audio on the video to make it seem like
the crowds were wild.
Right, exactly. And then they had him in the DR say they clearly are not.
He talks about
rooting for me. Like, I really feel like if you're in that moment, I don't think they would have been loud enough for him to hear it. Or am I just? What do you think?
Typically, apples, don't have ears. So if he's being one with the apple, probably wouldn't be able to hear anything. It's a pretty small space out there. You'll hear if people are cheering for you or not, I think. And sort of like he did talk about it afterward, and like from what we saw, they were kind of like cheering for everyone when they logged in. But, like, it was a little bit more muted for anyone other than Kiefer. And then, like, obviously nothing really for Josh. So you generally can get a sense of like, especially when you are Josh and you're
Interesting.
used to
So Latoya is being
the
blamed
group
now
being against you. You're
by
especially
Victoria for the
sensitive
flip.
to like anything that you know is like they don't want me to win. And so I think he probably heard, yeah.
And it's all solidified the moment Kiefer wins the veto, right? Because when Kiefer wins the veto, they can barely contain themselves. Like, and the winner of the veto.
I think that was just Beth. The volume control got messed up.
Yes, Queen Applebottom. She was very excited to in her Apple outfit to explain to everyone that Kiefer had won. I didn't really understand it because she just started screaming at some point. But you know. I think at that point, when you see everybody like in tears, falling to their knees, fist pumping, and like lifting him in the air and carrying him across the threshold, like at that point, Josh was like, "Well, I guess they really weren't rooting for me after all." Like, yeah. And so I think he might have heard it, and then that just solidified it and kind of nailed home that they wanted you out at this point, Josh.
Yeah, it's the thing is like we will definitely make fun of Beth for yelling in the diary room. It's not really her fault. It's the fault of the producers for it's not a natural thing to go into the diary room and just start going, so today I decided to make an alliance with Austin. People just don't do that. What happens is they go in, so today I was thinking about, talking with Austin, and I had a conversation, and they're like, excuse me, we're gonna need more energy from you. We're gonna need you to speak up. Yeah, can you consolidate this, and can we please make it a little, with your mouth more wide open and happier. And so that's how we get, that's how, yes, more mouth. That was a reference for anyone that got it. So
You're definitely gonna get more breath from Beth if anything, apparently.
Yeah.
Are they gonna?
Maybe they're like, actually, hold on. We close the mouth
Actually,
again.
we're on that out of spot, right? I think it's just health. Yeah. Which we're gonna redo in a second.
Yeah.
We needed more energy from you in the diary room, but if you could just I don't know the Canadian version of Tic Tac, but if you could just grab one.
They're actually called TikToks in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, a sponsor of the show. Harry, it's all coming together now. Thank you.
Pulling double duty.
Yeah. So that's how it happens, and really, the first person I remember really ever yelling in the diary room was Dan Giesling himself. He was the first one that stood out to me when I was watching the show as a diary room yeller. So.
What? He didn't fucking die from that?
We'll poke fun, but it's also there's a legacy there. So.
His impact.
Okay.
So there it is. I mean, you can't deny it. He walked so Chef Joe scream
and be silent during speeches,
and also be silent.
Yeah.
Was he silent or was he silenced?
Stop it.
So Josh's strategy in the veto was not only to become one with the apples, but also to lay them out ahead of time.
I just realized if we are going to use Namba's attack, the actual ideal move is to hit this guy, right?
You don't have as much leeway to mess around with them.
Because if they're all going to get hit anyway, then what's the point
which
in?
way should I stack them? I thought was a pretty decent idea, and I think that he, based on the conversations after, he was actually very close to winning, and just got a little bit greedy and went for too many, and then lost his balance a little bit and lost the apples, and that's what cost him the win. But I actually thought it was a decent strategy.
Yeah, and they never said what the number was that him and Tina tied on.
That's frustrating.
So it's like, why not?
They needed more time for the rapping, Taryn, obviously.
I felt like that was Beth taking creative license. Like, look, that shows you that they don't care about Josh. Like, Josh, you came in second or third. I don't care. Keep it.
Oh shit.
Like, if it was really close, you're like, Josh came in with 34 and narrowly missed it. But this
That's
time he's
fine,
like, yeah, you tied for second. Whatever. Kiefer, come get your power beat. So I I don't know. I
think
wish
we'll
they had
use
told us
this.
because I wanted to see. It looked like it was so close, and so I really wanted to see
Yeah,
if
it
it
did.
was 1 or 2 apples. Or,
No,
but,
it's not.
You know, you can't always get what you want here.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the veto. Kiefer is going to win the power of veto, and
It's perfect.
he's going to be taking himself down. He's very
That
happy
literally
about
worked
it,
out
very
perfectly.
proud. We have a nice little moment with Kiefer in the diary room.
Ah, shit.
Even though he is
Almost worked
wearing
out, but then
what
he
looks
moved at
like,
the last second.
I don't know. Like a branch from a pine tree around his neck, like.
Even the veto has been taken over by plants. That was wild.
I'm not into it.
It's fine.
I'm not into it.
They
think we should use this at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't love it. I did enjoy Kiefer's celebration.
Yes.
He always talks about where he's from, and I wonder how much of that is like it's seeping from his body, right? Like whenever he wins or does well, he has to like put on for his city, and I appreciate that. I am protected unapologetically, and even though it's some crazy stuff happening here, and we trying to be Florida #2, I still will rep in the happiest moments, and I get excited. I just start, I turn into Pimp C. I start spouting UGK verses, and I can't help it because I'm from Texas, and so I appreciate all that they do to give Kiefer his spotlight, to kind of highlight his culture, because given the opportunity, do-rag and all, I would be doing that exact same thing.
Yeah, it really was. Again, just BB Canada is really making the most of their diverse cast. Like, it's one thing to cast diverse people, and then another thing to tell diverse stories, and they are doing both, unlike some other reality TV shows, The Bachelor.
Yeah, I think it's, so obviously Arissa's influence here, I think this, the cast, in my opinion, has been the best part of the season so far, and how they're editing the cast and the moments that we're getting, both character moments, culture moments, have been the best part of the editing of the episodes so far, in my opinion. So they're definitely doing very well in this regard.
I'm just gonna do standard attacks this one.
Seasons of Big Brother US,
Just in case we get another fight, which looks like we're going to.
But I've never watched one live, so this is very fun for me.
Oh, wait, that wasn't the main guy. Oh no.
BBUS, it feels like.
Okay, well I didn't realize that.
Like, the second week, you kind of know who you're rooting against.
Well, shit then.
You have people who you don't like, and you're wanting this team to kind of win. But I think the editing is so balanced, and these people are getting enough content. Like, before this episode, I would have said, who is Tara? But then this episode was the Tara show almost, the second half at least. And so I think it's the people are balanced. I think they seem like enjoyable people. I'm not like actively rooting against anybody. Kind of depends on what day you ask me. But for the most part, I want everybody to have a good, wholesome game right now until it gets messy, and then I want it to like burn.
Let's just beat to that.
Yeah, I forgot what Tara looked like, because she's been more on the show than she's been on the feeds, it feels like. So I was like,
But that did almost no damage on him.
Yeah.
Where's he at?
Once Kiefer wins the veto, we see that Rohan's gonna talk with Tara about like, hey, what can we do? Is there any way to prevent me from going on the blog?
It's not bad.
Rohan has a conversation with Austin that the thing about this whole post-veto segment is that in reality, none of this even came close to mattering. This was never going to change in any way. But we do see Tara go to Austin and pitch for Jed to go up instead, a big physical threat, and then they kind of translate that into like, oh, and so maybe Austin will consider putting LaToya up on the block. Maybe. She was never doing it.
Nope.
Not at all. And Austin is so lucky. These editors have been so generous to her because there's not much. She, like you've said on all the updates, she's switched from target to target. She's clearly, like Rose said, I love what Rose said. She's playing from a place of fear. So true. You know what I'm saying? So this edit, they're even building in that she's even considering other people when she's absolutely not.
Yeah, she seems like the most wishy-washy person in my house. And in comparison to someone like Kiefer, who the moment he wins the veto and Josh comes to him like, you know, this game, and
that's bullshit, but it's like, whatever, I'm not really gonna. Like, DMC was doing the least for us at this point anyway.
I need you. And Kiefer cannot get out of that room fast enough. Like, he hasn't even taken off his flannel shirt, the Rob Sestanito shirt yet, before he's like, all right, bye. And just runs out the door. Whereas Austin is the type of person who will be sitting there like, yeah, okay. And she's the HOH. You are the one who knocks. You're supposed to be controlling this. People, one side of the house is not going to come to you. I wish you'd stop saying that. Like, well, people are going to come to me. No, they're safe. They don't need you. You should be trying to set yourself up for next week. You should be trying to set you up for future weeks. Like, I'm so frustrated watching her play because it's like,
I don't know why you're talking.
You got it. Like, we're so.
Like, Casca's the, like, at this point, Casca's the least focal one for us. Yeah, we need him alive, though. He didn't be in the game.
But, like, this is a different archetype of person. You can do something new.
Like, these other two are doing a lot more damage,
playing a week too late. But even with that, she just did nothing with her HOH week. She should be thinking, well, you know, if, like, what happens at this point if Kiefer stays and if Josh stays? Where does that leave me? But she's not making any plans for what that means if these people that you keep putting on the block
I think what we're gonna do is we'll use, like,
who now have a reason to come
probably
after you.
pudding.
And this is what I said something like this on Twitter.
Do we not have a
What's your
pudding?
opinion on it, Taryn? Like, this is kind of why if the Sunsetters do end up
sworn
kind
I
of
bought a whole bunch
running
of pudding.
the table, I wouldn't be
Did I
too
not?
mad about it, because it's not like that they just hoarded the power, they got lucky. Like, so far, they haven't just, you know, won all the HOHs.
Really?
And, you know, they actually had to do
I could've
this
sworn I
maneuvering to
fucking
get
bought a
themselves into
pudding.
the majority alliance.
I used them all?
And it's just been a much better way to see people come together, as opposed to somebody wins, he brings up all the people that, like Chappelle said, looks like him, and then, okay, good, we're all set for the rest of the summer. So I really want to see how the big alliance moves throughout the summer, because so far they've shown that they can wield power without having to physically hold it themselves. So far, again, it's only week 2. But what did you think about this? I mean, I've been listening, but please elaborate again.
No, yeah, I mean, it's always more fun to watch, at least in my opinion, you know, a majority run the game because the other players are letting them, than it is to watch the majority running the game because production has made the competitions in such a way that certain people are way more likely to win them, and they just keep winning over and over.
Alright, let's just pause this. How is that? Like, how is that not even halfway through the fucking episode? Okay, so yeah, last episode uploaded. By the way, this is episode 50, isn't it? Holy shit. This fucking game goes on for way too fucking long.
At Discover, we match all the cash back you've earned in the first year, so get ready for money to fall.
And so, you know, I think the idea, like and that's kind of like this was, you know, Big Brother 20 was, at least the first, you know, 2/3 of it was a great example of this, where it was like, yeah, there was a group of people that were much better players than the other side, but they kept trading off HOHs. So with that, they, you know, they had to maneuver around the, you know, other people having power and targeting them and having to, like, go through with different kinds of plans and things. So that's always the most fun way. I think that there could be a much more fun version of this week where Austin actually was playing the game, and they really had to maneuver. Like, she was like, I'm going after Kiefer, and if anyone screws me, I'm coming for you. And that would have been a much trickier week this week, and they would have had to do more to maneuver around it, right? But still. It's still better than, you know, if Jed had won this HOH, and it's just like, all right, so this is what we're doing.
Same old. But yeah, and I think I'm being hard on Austin because, I mean, she's HOH, but there are other people who are just kind of sitting by idly as well, or at least the show is painting it that way. When Rohan goes to Austin to talk about, you know, like, hey, maybe we should try something else instead of me, you would think this conversation like these seeds would have been sown way before this, right? It felt like, okay, I know I'm next if, you know, the veto is played, so I need to figure out somebody to throw in the way. But Austin's been the HOH all week, so when you should have already, when she became the HOH, what we normally see is people sit in that room and they don't move. And they sit there until they get their chance. And when, like, the person who sits there the longest is the person who gets the HOH's ear first. And when Rohan realized, okay, Austin's the HOH, you should be at this point saying, okay, Kyle, we, the two of us, need to be working on Austin so that if the veto is played, anybody but me will go up. Anybody. I don't care who it is, as long as it ain't me.
And we saw that scene. We saw that scene where Rohan was talking to Tara before the veto, and he said, I'm the replacement. I'm the replacement. So we got to try and make sure we... Yeah, so... Yeah, everybody on one side of the house is like you all said, they're 3 days behind, they're 4 steps behind. They're just, it's taking them longer to play the game.
First thing we Sunsetters versus Falte.
First thing we saw on the feeds, one of the first things we saw on the feeds when they turned on was Rohan and Kyle talking, and Rohan said,
Did this person literally list everybody?
Let's propose an alliance with Austin and Brayden.
What the fuck? Who the fuck does this? This is ridiculous. Someone actually bothered to rank every fucking Survivor contestant based on character and narrative strength. That's fucking insane.
They never explained it, that she's working with Jet and Ty already. But it still could have put them in a position where at the very least, let's say she is considering, what if I go against Latoya, but I don't have the numbers? Well, maybe if Jed and Ty are still on board and I have Ro and Kyle, maybe I can make this move. Maybe I do have the numbers to make something happen. And so I really do think that they dropped the ball on that. Ro and Kyle, I've been in this week.
That someone bothered to fucking do this and post it all in one Reddit post.
Right? There's like, you're either it's either too cold or too hot or just right in the middle. Ro and Kyle have been just in the middle, and they needed to either be cold or hot, because they needed to either do nothing and be chill and laid back, or full-fledged, start an alliance, make sure they're feeling comfortable, approach people, and they kind of took the middle approach, which was like, let's put out some feelers, let's approach some people about alliances, but then not talk to them for the next day, let's hang out with Austin and Brayden a bunch, but not actually talk strategy with them, and it's just like, that middle ground is putting them in exactly the position where they are threatening, but not actually powerful enough in the game via that stuff that they're doing to do anything about the fact
I would find
that
it
they're
when this music plays, it doesn't ever feel like
definitely,
it should be. Like,
some
it doesn't feel right whenever it plays.
Chasing grooves.
So, I'm sorry, Chappelle.
No, go ahead.
Because I have been, again, I've been listening, but it still seems like nobody did go up to Austin and really, like, actually submit an alliance. And Austin is a fan, right? She is a fan of Big Brother, right?
I mean, I think so. To some degree, at least, right? I don't know exactly how much. I think that, like, people like Tina, it seemed like Tina, I think, was talking about, like Dan Giesling is her favorite player. Like, so she seems to be, like, pretty good in terms of what. Kyle is a huge fan. He has, you know, Big Brother camping trips.
This music's been playing for way too long.
But Austin said she was a fan of the show. It very much could be. I mean, and here's the thing, too. When, like, you like, I'm not that old either, but, like, a 23-year-old saying that they're a big fan of the show, like, how long has she really been watching, right? Like, I don't know. So, who knows?
That's fair. I just feel like they could have slow played this with Austin, and then by the time the veto rolled around, it was only obvious that she would work with them. Like, you knew that Latoya and Jen are these huge threats, like big physical beings, and you knew
Chapter took a bit longer than I was expecting, considering I saw that this was one of the shortest chapters. Or the end of the Yakuza. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Ooh, look at how strong they are. Ooh, oh my gosh, like every chance you get, you should be marrying this person. You know, it's a strategy we see in Big Brother all the time when someone's already on the outs. We've seen it with Josh this week, where they make him sound like the most horrible person just for existing. And it's because you don't want to get emotionally attached to that person and start to think like, oh, I like them, so I want them to stay. You want to stay strategic, so you have to pile on and make them. And you know, and we've seen worse cases of this for sure. But like at this point, you should be doing the subtle action of that, which is trying to